Hello everyone, I hope that you're doing okay. This is another video for those IELTS candidates and those who want to take the IELTS exam. So today we're going to cover one of the hardest parts of the exam, which is the essay writing. As you can probably see, most people have problems when it comes to writing. And I don't blame them. Usually the productive skills, like writing and speaking, are a bit challenging. As in productive, you have to produce the language. When you listen and you read, you are using your receptive skills, you receive the information. So here's another essay writing. I will explain all the techniques and the format. The format is very important. Please pay attention to the format. Most people who make mistakes, they ignore the format. This is a standard test, and if you ignore that, no matter how good your English is, you are not going to achieve the result that you want. So, let's get to it. Okay, these are the governing bodies of the IELTS exam: the British Council, IDP, and Cambridge University, and ESOL examinations. This is the third episode of the essay writing. I really recommend you, if you haven't seen them, watch them. Because I move on every episode and I add new points, new vocabulary, new writing techniques. So watching them would really help you to upgrade your score. And of course, I would like to thank Julian Charles for this amazing book, IELTS Write Right, and I'm using this book to teach you the techniques of writing. Please take a look at it and read it cover to cover. It's going to really give you that idea of what is the format and which type of writing should I employ. Okay, so let's get to the question. All right, international tourism. Writing task 2. International tourism is now more common than ever before. Some feel that this is a positive trend, while others do not. What are your opinions on this? Okay, so we have the task, and the task asks us, demands us to employ our own ideas. Now, before getting into it, you have to write 250 words, about 5 paragraphs. It doesn't dictate that it has to be 5 paragraphs. So how should you write it? First, there comes the introduction. As an introduction, I mean a neutral sentence, not holding any ideas, and you rephrase the task. And after you rephrase the task, you map the essay. By mapping, you show what are you going to do. For example, this essay will cover the benefits of international tourism and explain why the benefits outweigh the disadvantages, right? So when you write that, it's better to stay out of the loop, use passive voice sentences and reported speech. And your level of vocabulary should be high, something that I covered in the previous sessions. Now, I want to start with a model answer and upgrade it. So again, you get to see the ideas of what's going on, right? All right, so this is the model answer 5+. 5+ means 6 or something. It means the format is okay, but the wording is not okay. For example, you write in a wordy manner, too much repetitions, the vocabulary level is low. Sometimes you make grammatical mistakes, that's a big red flag. And you don't write in a reported speech. Because when you want to write formal, you have to use reported speech. That gives quality to your work, right? Okay, so international tourism has increased considerably in the last 50 years. Neutral sentence. While this industry has certainly created a great deal of wealth for many destination countries, I believe that it has actually caused far more problems than it has solved. The following are just 2 of the main difficulties involved with the international tourism. Okay, first of all, international tourism, don't repeat the words. It lowers your score. Okay, the format is okay. As you can see, neutral sentence rephrases the task and maps the essay. But when you look at it, you'll see that the wording, vocabulary and you have to use more reported speech. Okay, good. The format. For now, we're just paying attention to the format, and we will upgrade it together. So, one particularly serious issue is that international travel has brought Western problems to the developing countries. Okay, this is the main idea. Now he has to support it. Only wealthy people can afford to travel overseas. As a result, increasing number of tourists from rich, mostly Western countries now holiday in poorer countries like Thailand and Indonesia. In many of these places, this flood of tourists is closely associated with such problems as prostitution, alcoholism, and drug abuse. Although international tourism can certainly bring people together and create a greater cross-cultural understanding, this will probably not happen while it is such a powerful sign of Western power and lack of moral standards. Okay, so it says that developing countries like Western countries bring problems, and it addresses those problems as supporting facts. Nothing wrong with that. And at the same time, again mentions that the cons outweigh the pros. All right. Even more worrying, however, is the damage that international tourism has caused to the environment in many parts of the world. Australia's Great Barrier Reef is an especially good example of this. Large areas of coral reef have been slowly destroyed by the thousands of boats, scuba divers, and snorkelers that have visited it over the years. Likewise, Bali's famous Kuta beach is now often covered in litter from crowds who go there. In order to maintain such tourist attractions, I feel we must regulate international tourism more carefully. Well, okay. Again, another. It goes to the environmental issues. All right. So there is this damage to the touristic areas, and it comes up with two examples: Australia's Great Barrier Reef and Indonesia, Bali's famous Kuta beach. Right. So again, the format is okay. Main idea: supporting facts. To conclude, it is clear that the countries created by the growing international tourist trade are complicated and many. While there are certainly no impossible to overcome, I believe these problems will probably continue for some time. Okay, as you can see, the way it's written is so hard to read. But you're right, it has to be really easy to read. All right, so what are the problems here? All right, international tourism repeats the word over and over, too wordy. The level of vocabulary is not as it should be. Reported speech is weak. So, all right. I mean, teacher, I did it right. I listened to the format. So why is my score 6 on writing? Well, I tell you, you have to write in a reported speech manner, academic manner, and at the same time, you have to use high level of vocabulary, and you shouldn't write in a wordy manner. So that makes the difference. But as long as the format is okay, 6 is secured. All right, a better answer, 7 plus. The past 50 years have seen a considerable increase in global tourism. Nice. Despite the undeniable economic prosperity it has brought to many host countries, I would argue that overall impact of the international holiday making has in fact been negative. Two of the primary drawbacks associated with this trend are as follows. Very nice. Neutral sentence, rephrasing the task, and mapping the essay. He imposes his idea and maps the essay. So what comes after it? Let's see. All right. First of all, global tourism tends to export many negative aspects of Western culture. Since it is only the wealthy who can afford to travel abroad, developing countries like Thailand and Indonesia have become the playgrounds of tourists from more affluent ones. In many such nations, the influx, nice word, of mainly Western tourists has brought with it problems such as prostitution, as well as alcoholism and drug abuse. Admittedly, international tourism does have the potential to foster great understanding and tolerance between people of different cultures. However, this is unlikely to occur while it remains such a potent symbol of Western cultural domination and moral decadence. All right, nice. So again, the previous article is exactly with the same ideas, but as you can see, reported speech, high level of vocabulary, there are no, for example, there are no repetitions, and the diversity of words, it's better. That's what makes it different. Let's go to the second paragraph. Even more disturbing, though, is the environmental degradation that international tourism has caused in many parts of the world. One particularly salient example of this is Great Barrier Reef in Australia. The countless boats, divers, and snorkelers that have visited the reef over the past few decades have gradually destroyed vast sections of the coral. Similarly, world-renowned Kuta Beach in Bali has become heavily polluted in recent years. In order to be sustainable, greater regulation of global tourism is required. Nice. So again, the main idea, supporting fact, high level of vocabulary, reported speech, and diversity. These are the keys. These are the keys if you want to move up. In conclusion, the challenges presented by the booming international tourist industry are numerous and complex. Although they are by no means insurmountable, it is highly unlikely that they will be resolved in the foreseeable future. Nice way to close it. A very great way to close it. Okay, so as the whole concept, now you know that what is the difference between a 6, which is only format, and 7+, which is diversity, high level of vocabulary, reported speech, and at the same time, the article not being wordy. No repetitions here. All right, so let's go in detail the sentences and the vocabulary together. Okay, IELTS 5. I will now discuss 2 of the main problems caused by international tourism. The following are just 2 of the main difficulties involved with international tourism. 2 of the primary drawbacks associated with this trend are as follows. So, in this IELTS 6 international tourism, avoid these repetitions. 2 of the main, or instead of main, primary drawbacks associated with this trend are as follows. Short, to the point, and in the way of reported speech at the same time. Because that only rich people have enough money to travel overseas, poorer countries like Thailand and Indonesia have become the playgrounds of the richer ones. Rich, repetition. As it is the only rich that afford to holiday overseas, poorer countries such as Thailand and Indonesia has become playgrounds of wealthier nations. All right, so rich, wealthier, changed it. So if you have to use the same concept, at least don't use the same word. Rich, wealthy, affluent. Okay, since it is the only wealthy who can afford to travel abroad, developing countries like Thailand and Indonesia have become the playgrounds of tourists from more affluent ones. Sentence 3. In many of these countries, this increasing number of tourists or visitors, mostly from Western countries, has caused problems like prostitution, alcoholism, and drug abuse. In many such countries, this flood of mostly Western tourists have created problems like prostitution along with alcoholism and drug abuse. In many such nations, this influx of mainly Western tourists has brought with it problems such as prostitution as well as alcoholism and drug abuse. So it's become shorter, to the point, reported speech, high level of vocabulary. However, the damage that global tourism has caused to the environment in many places is even more worrying. Even more worrying, however, is the damage that international tourism has caused to the environment in many parts of the world. Even more disturbing, though, is the environmental degradation instead of damage that international tourism has caused in many parts of the world. So I guess you can understand the differences here. Sentence 5, IELTS 5. Australia's Great Barrier Reef is an especially good example of this. Large areas of coral reef have been slowly destroyed by the thousands of boats, scuba divers, and snorkelers that have visited it over the years. One especially good example of this is Australia's Great Barrier Reef. The numerous boats, divers, and snorkelers have been there in recent years, have slowly destroyed large areas of coral reef. IELTS 7. One particularly salient example of this is Great Barrier Reef in Australia. The countless boats, divers, and snorkelers that have visited the reef over the past few decades have gradually destroyed vast sections of coral. Nice one. Last one. They are certainly not impossible to overcome, but I believe these problems will probably continue for some time. They are certainly not insurmountable. However, it is unlikely that they will be solved in the near future. Although they are by no means insurmountable, it is highly unlikely that they will be resolved in the foreseeable future. Great. Some of the words: basic, intermediate, advanced, last, past, international, global, although, while, industry, trade, wealth, prosperity, country, nation, destination, country, host country, travel, tourism, holiday making, actually, in fact, bring problems, cause problems, create difficulties. Create wealth, bring economic prosperity, solve, resolve, main, primary, many, numerous, countless, problem, difficulty, challenge, involved with, associated with, rich, wealthy, affluent, overseas, abroad, visit, holiday in, poorer country, developing country, like, such as, flood, influx, mostly, mainly, and as well as, not likely, highly unlikely, powerful, potent, sign, symbol, power, domination, lack of moral standard, moral decadence, worrying, disturbing, however, though, damage, degradation, especially, particularly, good example, salient example, large, vast, slowly, gradually, area, section, likewise, similarly, famous, world-renowned, growing, booming, complicated, complex, certainly not, by no means, impossible to overcome, insurmountable. All right, everyone, that's it for today. I hope that you enjoyed it. Make sure to stay loyal to the format and employ these ideas that I've done. I'm not saying that my way or my chosen articles are perfect, but they will do the job. If you're, if you're going for a 7, they will do the job. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and I hope to see you guys soon. If you have any question, there's my email in the channel, and you can, just write your questions in the comment section. Wish you all the best, and I hope to hear from all of you soon.